It's not that they couldn't see your worth. It's that Allah refused to let them see a version of you that was still bleeding. You weren't hidden by accident. You were protected on purpose. Because the real you was never meant to grow in front of people who couldn't water your soul. 1. You're not being ignored. You're being protected from premature exposure. They don't notice you. Not the way you secretly wish they would. You walk into places and feel like your presence is invisible, like your soul is whispering for someone to just pause and see you, but no one does. You speak with sincerity, hoping your words will land somewhere real. But instead, they fall into silence. Or worse, they're ignored. You try to show your heart, your effort, your growth, but somehow it never seems to be enough. And maybe you don't say it out loud, but deep down you've been wondering, why do I always feel invisible? What am I doing wrong? But what if you're not doing anything wrong? What if this isn't rejection, but divine protection? You see, when Allah loves someone deeply, He doesn't always give them the spotlight. He gives them silence. He gives them cover. He gives them a place to grow without being watched, judged, or interrupted. Because if they saw you now, if the world truly saw you in your current form, they'd misunderstand who you are and who you're becoming. They'd only recognize your survival, not your transformation. They'd label you by your pain, not your purity. And they'd expect you to perform a version of yourself that was never meant to last. They'd celebrate the part of you that's still wounded, still uncertain, still unsure of your worth. And you might be tempted to hold on to that version just to keep their attention. But that's not who Allah is building. He's building someone stronger, someone softer on the inside, but unshakable on the outside. Someone who doesn't just speak, but speaks with weight. Someone who doesn't just walk into rooms, but carries presence, even in silence. But that kind of presence, that kind of soul, can't be formed in a rush. It can't be built under the eyes of people who only see fragments. It needs privacy, stillness, a sacred kind of invisibility. That's why you feel overlooked. That's why doors aren't opening right now. Because Allah knows what you don't. He knows that if He gave you visibility before you were ready, it would crush you. You'd get addicted to being seen before you were truly whole. And you'd build your self-worth around applause instead of alignment. So instead, He hides you. He gently places you behind a curtain, not to shame you, but to shape you. He slows down the world around you, so that your soul can speed up inside you. He dims the lights, so you can glow without needing to burn out for attention. Because if He lets the world see you too soon, they'll define you too small. And you'll start believing that you are only worthy when others say you are. But you were never made for their validation. You were made to carry something sacred, something too big, too deep, too pure, to be handed to people who only see your surface. So yes, it hurts to feel invisible. But what hurts now is saving you later. Every ignored effort, every overlooked moment, every silence you sat in alone was a part of your becoming. You are not being forgotten. You are being protected from everything that would have made you forget yourself. You are being shielded from shallow attention, so that one day, when Allah lifts the curtain and the world finally sees you, they won't be able to deny that you were built in divine silence. You won't just walk into a room. You'll walk in with history, with depth, with light that doesn't flicker. So if you're still hidden, if you still feel unseen, it's because the version of you the world needs is still under construction. And when it's ready, you won't just be seen, you'll be felt. And no one will ever be able to ignore what Allah Himself prepared in secret. Because you were never invisible. You were being protected, not from people, but from everything that would have made you shrink before you were ready to rise. 2. The silence isn't rejection, it's a divine shield for the soul you haven't fully grown into. You've been surrounded by so much silence lately. Calls that never came, messages left unread, plans that were once loud with excitement, now dissolved into quietness you never asked for. And no matter how much you try to stay hopeful, the silence is starting to sound like rejection. But let your soul hear this. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's a sacred kind of shielding, not a divine punishment. Because Allah never uses silence to harm you. He uses it to rebuild what noise kept destroying. He uses it to separate you from distractions, temptations, false hopes, so you can finally hear what your soul's been trying to say. You weren't abandoned. You were being placed under divine protection. Because sometimes what looks like being left alone is really Allah saying, "This is where I grow you without interference." He knows your soul is still soft in some places, still healing, still prone to bending for people who don't know how to hold you, still learning the difference between being wanted and being valued. And if He allowed you to be surrounded right now, you'd attach to what feels familiar, not what's truly good for you. You'd grab onto what distracts you from yourself. You'd keep repeating the same emotional patterns, not because you're weak, but because you were still too open. So Allah closes the doors. He quiets the noise. He slows the movement. Because the version of you that He's calling forward isn't built in chaos. It's built in calm. It's built in pauses that feel like endings, but are really beginnings in disguise. This silence isn't proof that Allah forgot you. It's proof that He's working in places you can't yet see. He's protecting you from what would have fed your ego but starved your growth. He's shielding you from the kind of attention that only praises what's visible and ignores what's sacred. And I know it hurts. I know you miss the noise sometimes, even if it drained you. I know you're tired of the stillness that feels like standing in the dark. But this is the dark where seeds grow. This is the dark where your roots are deepening, where your du'as are reaching Him without interference, where your soul is being rearranged, refined, rewritten. And one day, when the silence breaks and the doors open, you'll walk through with a soul that doesn't crave what used to chase it. You'll move with a light that doesn't need permission to shine. You'll speak with a voice that was formed in nights of sacred quiet, not public noise. So don't mistake this pause for punishment. Don't misread this silence as abandonment, because right now, you are not being ignored. You're being protected while you grow into the soul that can carry the blessings still being written in your name. 3. You're not forgotten. You're being brought back to the you that existed before you were broken. You keep wondering if Allah has forgotten you. You pray, but the answers feel delayed. You cry, but the healing hasn't arrived. You try to move forward, but it feels like your heart is dragging pieces of a past that still haunts you. And in your quietest moments, a question whispers in your chest, "Did Allah forget me?" But the truth is, you are not forgotten, not for a second, not for a heartbeat, not even in the moments when you forgot yourself. This silence, this delay, this emotional distance you're feeling, it's not absence, it's a rescue, because you're not just being protected from others, you're being brought back to someone you've forgotten, the version of you that existed before the world broke you, before they made you feel like your worth depended on how much you gave, before you were taught to shrink yourself just to be loved, before you started believing you had to chase people to feel chosen. That version of you, the real you, was never loud, never desperate, never exhausted. That version of you was born with peace, with clarity, with purity and direction and calmness that came from knowing you were already held by Allah. But then, life happened. You gave your heart to people who didn't know how to hold it. You trusted words that sounded sincere but weren't rooted in truth. You tried to become what others wanted, and in doing so, you slowly lost the you that Allah had perfectly written. So now, Allah is pulling you back, not to punish you, but to recover you. He's removing the false layers, the versions of you that were born out of survival, not sincerity. The habits, the masks, the fears, all of it. And that's why this season feels so lonely, so slow, so unfamiliar. Because you're not becoming someone new, you're returning. Returning to the fitra you were born with, the soul that didn't need to be loud to be loved, the heart that found peace in being alone with Allah, the mind that trusted in divine timing more than human approval. That's why everything is being stripped away. So that when Allah reintroduces you to the world, you won't be carrying wounds pretending to be wisdom. You won't be craving attention just to feel alive. You won't be apologizing for your light, your boundaries, your faith, your truth. Because the you that's coming back is the one who walks into every space whole. Not perfect, but whole. Grounded, rooted, unshakable. And the people who left you behind, the ones who couldn't see your worth, they didn't walk away because you were invisible. They walked away because Allah was removing the noise that made you forget your own name. He's not letting you be defined by what broke you. He's letting you be refined by it. Because that heartbreak, it wasn't the end of you. It was the invitation to finally meet the version of you that doesn't just survive, but rises. So no, you're not forgotten. You're being remembered by the one who always knew who you really were. Even when the world tried to rewrite you, even when you tried to bury parts of yourself just to be accepted, Allah hasn't forgotten you. He's simply bringing you back to the one He never stopped seeing. For the delay is not denial. It's proof that what's coming is too big for the old you to carry. You keep asking, when is it going to happen for me? You've waited, and waited, and waited. And somewhere along the way, the waiting started to feel like punishment. Like maybe Allah changed His mind. Like maybe your name was skipped. Or worse, erased. But please, listen closely. This delay is not a denial. It's not rejection. It's not silence without meaning. It's proof, sacred, invisible proof, that what's coming is far too heavy for the version of you that once begged for it. Because what you prayed for is bigger than you think. And it requires a soul that doesn't just want the blessing, but knows how to carry it without crumbling. You see, you asked Allah for love that lasts. But the version of you that made that dua still confused attachment with connection, still gave too much without boundaries, still feared being alone more than being disrespected. You asked Allah for purpose, but that version of you still found identity in people's praise, still needed external approval to feel like you mattered, still chased recognition more than alignment. So Allah didn't say no. He just said, not yet, because He saw what you couldn't. He saw how the blessing would break you if He gave it to the version of you that was still bleeding. He saw how it would distract you, control you, own you, instead of elevate you. So the delay, it's not a block. It's a divine waiting room where your character is catching up to your calling, where your strength is being sharpened quietly, where your hands are being emptied, not because you've been forgotten, but because what's coming will be too full to carry alongside what you refuse to release. You're not waiting because you're not worthy. You're waiting because you're being readied. Every day of delay, every unanswered dua, every closed door, every plan that keeps falling apart, it's not wasted. It's training. It's divine resistance building unseen resilience inside of you, so that when Allah finally opens the door, you don't walk through it desperately. You walk through it quietly, powerful, not needing to prove yourself, not needing to rush, not needing to hold it tightly, because now you trust the one who gave it. That's why it's taking time, because the blessing is not just something you'll receive, it's something you'll have to protect, something you'll have to carry with wisdom, with discipline, with spiritual maturity. And that version of you, that version is still being revealed, inside the very delay you've been begging to escape. So don't curse the pause, don't resent the quiet, and don't think for a moment that Allah's silence means He's forgotten you. He hasn't. He's preparing the ground before He gives you the garden. He's stretching your soul before He fills your hands. He's refining your character before He sends what you once thought you were ready for. And when it finally arrives, it won't just feel like a blessing. It will feel like a reunion with the version of you that was finally strong enough to hold it. 5. You're not isolated. You're in divine surgery. You've been feeling it for a while now. The distance, the silence, the strange sense that you're no longer where you used to be, yet you're not where you hoped to be either. People you once leaned on have faded away. Conversations that used to bring you joy now feel hollow. Even your prayers feel like they're bouncing off walls that weren't there before. You're doing everything you can to stay strong, but secretly, in the quiet corners of the night, a voice inside you whispers, "Why has Allah placed me here alone? What did I do to be isolated like this?" But my dear soul, what feels like isolation isn't punishment, it's divine surgery. Because before Allah raises you, He removes what can't rise with you. And that removal doesn't always feel graceful. It feels like being emptied, like parts of you are being peeled away. Relationships, identities, habits, patterns, all unraveling one by one. And all you're left with is silence, stillness, and an ache you can't quite explain. But that ache is not a void, it's a healing wound. And the silence is not abandonment. It's where the surgery begins. You see, when a surgeon operates, they first put the body to sleep. Why? Because the healing process would be too painful to bear if the patient were awake. The cutting, the removing, the stitching, it would feel like destruction when it's actually restoration. And that's what Allah is doing to you right now. He has placed your soul into a kind of sleep, not of laziness, but of surrender. He's put you in a space where distractions can't reach you, where people who once pulled you away from yourself are now silent, where the world has gone quiet, so you can finally hear your own pain without interference. Because you've been carrying things for too long. Old wounds you never addressed. Stories you told yourself just to survive. Roles you played for others, while abandoning your own truth. Attachments that felt like love, but were actually slow poison wrapped in comfort. So now, the divine surgeon steps in. He places you in this invisible operating room, this strange season where everything slows down, and he begins removing what you would have never let go of on your own. The dependence on validation, the addiction to being needed, the need to constantly prove yourself just to feel worthy. And it's painful. Yes, because healing isn't always warm. Sometimes it feels like being undone. But what you can't see yet is that every part of you being stripped away is not who you really are. It's who you had to become in order to survive a season that's now over. And Allah wants more for you than just survival. He wants resurrection. So He operates gently, slowly, perfectly. Piece by piece, He removes the false identities. He purifies the heart. He rewires your inner world, the way you see yourself, the way you trust, the way you surrender. And that's why it's so quiet right now. Because in divine surgery, there are no crowds, no noise, no applause, just you and Allah. He's healing things no one else even knows are broken. He's tending to griefs you buried so deep, even you forgot they existed. He's restoring the version of you that can finally walk through life without pretending to be okay. And when he's done, when the surgery is complete, you will not go back to the old rooms that broke you. You will not chase the hands that let go of you. You will not shrink to fit into places you've outgrown. You will rise, not as someone who needs the world to notice, but as someone who walks quietly, knowing Allah already did. So don't fear this isolation. You're not alone in it. You're being transformed in it. You're not lost. You're being carefully, lovingly remade. This is not the end. This is the sacred middle, the hidden surgery of your soul. And when Allah brings you out of it, you won't just be healed, you'll be whole. 6. You're not falling behind. You're being aligned with what won't require you to shrink. It feels like everyone is moving faster than you. They're achieving. They're arriving. They're getting chosen, celebrated, seen. And here you are, still trying, still praying, still wondering why it's not your turn yet. And the pain isn't just in the waiting. It's in watching others receive the very things you've been begging Allah for in secret. It starts to feel personal, doesn't it? You ask yourself, did I miss something? Did I take a wrong turn? Am I not doing enough? Why does it feel like I'm falling behind while everyone else gets ahead? But here's what you haven't been told. You're not behind. You're being aligned. Because not every door that opens is divine. Not every opportunity is meant for your soul. And not every fast track leads to peace. Sometimes the path Allah puts you on feels slower, not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared for something that won't require you to shrink to fit in. If He rushed you, you'd step into rooms that demand silence from your truth. You'd enter relationships that reward your obedience, not your honesty. You'd accept jobs, titles, and labels that look like success, but suffocate the very essence of who you're becoming. So Allah slows you down, not because you're unworthy of speed, but because the place He's taking you requires roots too deep to be moved by noise. He's aligning your character with the calling. He's strengthening your voice before the world hears it. He's teaching you how to walk away from things that sparkle but drain you. Because when the right thing arrives, you won't just need readiness. You'll need spiritual maturity. And that maturity, it doesn't come from rushing. It comes from refinement, from those slow, tearful nights, from the loneliness that teaches you how to be whole, from the silence that reintroduces you to Allah, not as a concept, but as your companion. You're not falling behind. You're being preserved. You're being timed for a life that doesn't demand you to dull your light or compromise your boundaries. You're being matched with spaces that won't punish your sincerity or silence your softness. Because the real destination isn't just success. It's peace. It's purpose. It's walking into places where you don't have to hide your soul to survive. And when you arrive there, you'll look back and say, Alhamdulillah for the delays. Alhamdulillah for the doors that stayed shut. Alhamdulillah for being kept hidden until I no longer needed to shrink to be accepted. You were never behind. You were just being divinely aligned. 7. You're being hidden now, so you don't get addicted to being seen before you're healed. You've been feeling it for a while now. The distance, the silence, the strange sense that you're no longer where you used to be, yet you're not where you hope to be either. People you once leaned on have faded away. Conversations that used to bring you joy now feel hollow. Even your prayers feel like they're bouncing off walls that weren't there before. You're doing everything you can to stay strong, but secretly, in the quiet corners of the night, a voice inside you whispers, "Why has Allah placed me here alone? What did I do to be isolated like this?" But my dear soul, what feels like isolation isn't punishment, it's divine surgery. Because before Allah raises you, He removes what can't rise with you. And that removal doesn't always feel graceful. It feels like being emptied, like parts of you are being peeled away. Relationships, identities, habits, patterns, all unraveling one by one. And all you're left with is silence, stillness, and an ache you can't quite explain. But that ache is not a void. It's a healing wound. And the silence is not abandonment. It's where the surgery begins. You see, when a surgeon operates, they first put the body to sleep. Why? Because the healing process would be too painful to bear if the patient were awake. The cutting, the removing, the stitching, it would feel like destruction when it's actually restoration. And that's what Allah is doing to you right now. He has placed your soul into a kind of sleep, not of laziness, but of surrender. He's put you in a space where distractions can't reach you, where people who once pulled you away from yourself are now silent, where the world has gone quiet, so you can finally hear your own pain without interference. Because you've been carrying things for too long. Old wounds you never addressed. Stories you told yourself just to survive. Roles you played for others while abandoning your own truth. Attachments that felt like love, but were actually slow poison wrapped in comfort. So now, the divine surgeon steps in. He places you in this invisible operating room, this strange season where everything slows down, and he begins removing what you would have never let go of on your own. The dependence on validation, the addiction to being needed, the need to constantly prove yourself just to feel worthy. And it's painful. Yes, because healing isn't always warm. Sometimes it feels like being undone. But what you can't see yet is that every part of you being stripped away is not who you really are. It's who you had to become in order to survive a season that's now over. And Allah wants more for you than just survival. He wants resurrection. So He operates gently, slowly, perfectly. Piece by piece, He removes the false identities. He purifies the heart. He rewires your inner world, the way you see yourself, the way you trust, the way you surrender. And that's why it's so quiet right now. Because in divine surgery, there are no crowds, no noise, no applause, just you and Allah. He's healing things no one else even knows are broken. He's tending to griefs you buried so deep, even you forgot they existed. He's restoring the version of you that can finally walk through life without pretending to be okay. And when He's done, when the surgery is complete, you will not go back to the old rooms that broke you. You will not chase the hands that let go of you. You will not shrink to fit into places you've outgrown. You will rise, not as someone who needs the world to notice, but as someone who walks quietly, knowing Allah already did. So don't fear this isolation. You're not alone in it. You're being transformed in it. You're not lost. You're being carefully, lovingly remade. This is not the end. This is the sacred middle, the hidden surgery of your soul. And when Allah brings you out of it, you won't just be healed. You'll be whole. 8. You weren't buried. You were planted. It feels like you've been buried. Like life threw dirt over your dreams. Like everything you worked for collapsed. Like no matter how hard you tried, you were slowly erased. From people's memories, from the spaces you once belonged to, from the future you once believed in. You've watched others rise while you've been sinking. You've seen doors open for people who didn't bleed like you did. And the question that sits quietly in your chest is this: did life bury me? But what you didn't see, what your heart couldn't yet understand, is that you were never buried. You were planted. And planting feels almost the same at first. It's dark. It's quiet. You're covered. You're hidden. You're cut off from the surface. No one claps when the seed is pushed into the soil. No one watches. No one sees. There is no recognition in this stage. Only pressure. Only waiting. Only stillness. But something is happening beneath all of that silence. While the world has forgotten you, Allah hasn't. Because what the world called burial, Allah called preparation. In the soil, He's been breaking you open, not to destroy you, but to release the life inside you. He's been softening your heart where it hardened, strengthening your roots where you used to collapse, purifying your intentions where they got tangled in pride, fear, or desperation. This stage of being planted doesn't look like growth from the outside, but growth is still happening, because before anything rises, it must first be buried in silence. Before you shine in the sun, you must fight for your life in the dark. And before the world can see your branches, Allah is busy strengthening your roots. He's been growing the version of you that doesn't depend on surface-level validation. The version of you that can bend in the storm and not break. The version of you that knows how to go deep, not wide. That version is formed here, beneath. And yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels like nothing is happening. Yes, it feels like you were forgotten in a place you never asked to be planted in. But soon you'll push through. Not because you forced it, but because the time will be right. Because Allah, the one who planted you, will say, "Rise." And when you do, you won't just grow. You'll bloom. With meaning. With humility. With unshakable roots that no storm can pull out. And you won't rise the same way others did. Because you were planted with purpose. You didn't grow from applause. You grew from patience. You didn't rise from being seen. You rose from being held by the unseen. So if you're still in the soil right now, still hidden, still aching, still wondering why it's taking so long, just know this: nothing planted by Allah stays underground forever. The seed you are now will become the tree that shades others later. And everything that felt like loss was actually part of your foundation. You weren't buried, you were planted. And when Allah says, "It's time," you won't just grow. You'll grow exactly into the version He always knew you were meant to become. So, if you're still hidden right now, still waiting, still aching in silence, please know it's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're being rewritten by the one who sees everything they never did. Allah didn't forget you. He protected you. From noise that would have drowned your soul, from people who weren't sent to stay, from a version of you that couldn't carry what's coming. You weren't invisible by accident. You were invisible by design. So when He brings you forward, you won't rise for attention. You'll rise in alignment, calm, complete, unshakable. And when that moment comes, you won't need to say a word, because your presence will speak what the pain once silenced, and every delay will finally make sense. Allah hasn't forgotten you, not even for a breath.